I'm sure there's an endless amount of great artists on the planet who could talk to you forever about how great David Lynch's movies are. And they would probably name a lot of movies that you already know, and I love them too. But there's one film that most people don't know, and it might be one of his best, and it's haunting, and it'll make you go the span of like emotions from feeling horrified and sad and happy, and it's called The Grandmother, and he made it in 1970, and it was essentially his first attempt at a narrative film, and it's amazing. So he had made some short films like The Alphabet before this, but I think this is the first film, the narrative film that he had a chance to make, and it's beautiful, and it's horrifying, and it's sad, and it's tragic, and it's a mix between animation and then real people. I forget what the term is. It switches back and forth, but the acting is so unbelievable. It's haunting, the whole thing. The sound is amazing. I don't even know who did the sound. I think he worked in partner with somebody on this, but it's like you're listening to like one of the best composers, sound artists, making this sound aspect, which David Lynch himself said sound he thinks is half of the film. And it feels like it goes well beyond that percentage. So on the face of it, what you see is a boy who is born into the world by these feral, ugly parents who are terrible. And he has a terrible childhood, and they're mean, and they abuse him, and there's all kinds of things going on. And one day he decides he wants to get a grandmother. So he finds a grandmother's seed somehow, grows his own, and she gives him the love and support that he needs. I'm not going to give away the ending in case you watch it, but it kind of circles back, like cycle of life, that kind of thing. And it's so moving. And I remember watching The Art Life with David Lynch, kind of mostly about his painting, but they do talk about his films. And I remember him saying, I think, in the documentary, that when he showed this film that he got a grant to do to someone who's connected to the American Film Institute in LA, I think, and they were just moved to tears and emotions by it. And then that pretty much gave him green light after that. And when you have sort of an abstract, beautiful work of art, like this film is, and remember, he's an artist. He was a painter before he did any films. He just wanted to make moving paintings, he said. When you have something like that where it's kind of open to interpretation, which a lot of his films are, and I don't know, I'm sure he planned it like that. I think the great artists and the great artworks usually do that, leave things open to different interpretations. There are many things I could say about this that remind me of different things, but I'll just give you one that came on this viewing, and I've seen it, I don't know, maybe like half a dozen times or so. But on this viewing, it really kind of, something emerged inside me, and I just want to tell you what it is because I'd be interested to know what you think. Now, I'm not saying that this is what I think it's about. I'm just saying that this is the kind of the story that it reminded me of. Okay, and it's this. David Lynch has talked about the art life before and how difficult it is to make art and make a living and, you know, be an artist and have that life, right? So watching it this time, I kind of thought that it was a little bit about that. So you have this boy representing the artist, right? This is kind of a weird one, but when he wets his bed and his dad goes nuts, doing that bark growl thing that he does, and it's haunting. To me, I kind of thought that the bedwetting was the artwork in a way, or the idea of being an artist, and that the parents, these feral, terrible, unsupportive, abusive people, kind of represented the general public, or maybe unsupportive parents or unsupportive friends or whoever that don't like it when people go after things that they love. In other words, people follow their passion, to say the cliche, but then there's pushback against that, because a lot of people who make the terrible choices in their own life for whatever reason, or they have to, maybe not terrible choices, but they make choices that they didn't anticipate making in their life. And so sometimes when that happens, I think people have some resentment towards people who do make the choices that they wish they had made, or had the courage to do things that they didn't have the courage to do. And so that's what it kind of represented to me. So the bedwetting was kind of like his attempt to go into the art life. I guess you could say the urine was like the artwork in a way. And the parents revolted against that. There's a scene that comes later when they're at the dinner table and the parents are eating their little grumbly, food, and the boy's not eating, and they yell at him like, my, and he won't eat it. And he reaches for like a ketchup bottle or something. It's almost like he is trying to say, well, I'm going to eat what I think I should eat. I'm going to sustain myself on what I think I should sustain myself with. And they go ballistic. And then I think he just runs out. And that was maybe the last time, almost the last time we see an interaction between the parents, because at that point, it's kind of clear to him that he's in this world that's not supportive. He's got to get out of it, right? So to me, leading up to the grandmother is also a representation, and she's a representation of the supportive elements of, let's say you choose to do the art life. And I'm just being specific because this is what it reminded me of. But you could say that it's a gallery, you could say it's a grant-making institution, you could say it's people who just love art, you could say it's collectors, you could say it's... and I'm not just talking about like the art world. It could be music or poetry or filmmaking or whatever it is that you want to do. But the grandmother represents that support, right? And so when he's building the vessel that will give birth to the grandmother, it feels like a work of art, like a sculpture. It's beautiful. And the artwork gives birth to the support. The success of the artwork that he makes, the pursuit of it, gives birth to the person that will end up supporting him the most in this lifestyle choice. That's what it felt like to me. It's a beautiful sculpture. It's a beautiful thing. It's weird and it's haunting and all that, but it's a beautiful thing. And so when he has that finally, he you can feel, yes, on the surface of it, he's getting the love and support from a family member that he needs in the literal story that we're watching. But if we just kind of run with this analogy here, he's also getting positive feedback and encouragement for the choices that he's making, the road that he's choosing to take. And one of the interesting things that happened in the film, thinking about this as I was watching it, there's a moment where the grandmother whistles, or he hears the whistle even before she's born. He hears a whistle, which is a kind of an interesting aesthetic sound art element. And when he goes upstairs and he pulls up the seed bag to listen to the different little seeds, they're huge. It's like almost like the size of like half a coconut or something. And when he listens to them, he's shaking them like maracas, and he's listening for the sound of it. And when he hears the sound that he likes, which I know is just him trying to find the right person or the right seed or whatever, however you inspect an avocado, you squeeze the top or whatever. I know I'm reading too much into this, but it was interesting to me that it was the sound was right to him, and given that she communicated to him through whistles in the beginning at least, that they were sort of connected in that journey. So just to me, that it kind of reminded me of a pursuit of the art life and the support that you get. And you could take this into many different areas and different situations and different contexts and see the relevance, because it's such a beautiful / horrifying / sad / uplifting story about this kid who goes through these things. And you really get the feeling at the core, like, you know how you experience an artwork or a film that kind of gets to the core of what it is to be alive or be human or be familiar with those types of experiences, and when somebody hits something that resonates with you, it just kind of locks you, and you can feel it in your chest and the bottom of your soul if you have one, and it just rattles you. That's what this movie does, and it doesn't really happen that often. I love movies. I can enjoy a lot of great movies. I can enjoy a lot of mediocre movies. But it's a small club of the movies that can actually shake you in the core. This is one of those for me. And God, you're just really watching someone who is such a genius and such a master at the beginning. This being, like I said, one of the first narrative attempts that he made. And it's just amazing. All right, so I want to know what you think about The Grandmother. If you haven't seen it, get on the Criterion. If you're watching this video, you must like movies and films, and you must probably like the niche markets of the Criterion collection. You've seen Fellini films. You're watching this, especially if you're on this video at this point, you're watching Fellini and Lynch and Nolan and Michael Mann and Kurosawa, just like I am. So if you're not on there, you should be on there. And let me know what you think of the movie. The Grandmother, David Lynch, 1970, made with, I think, his first grant, one of his first green lights, as they say. And it's a beauty. It's poetry in motion. It's dark and it's haunting, and it'll rattle you. But the sound alone is just breathtaking. You know, it's just it's an emotional ride. So many thumbs up for David Lynch's The Grandmother.